Guys, in the morning class, we have seen the basic introduction of plsql. Right here, we have seen how to declare the variables inside the blocks as well as outside the blocks. How to take the input dynamically in plsql with help of ampersand operator. Right? How to print the data. And why we are moving for the concept of cursors. Okay, this is what we have discussed. Now, in this class, we'll try to go for the concept of exceptions. Right? So, if you are able to clearly observe the syntax of PL by SQL, right? So, what is the syntax of PL SQL? We can have declaration part, and then we have the logic part with help of begin section, and then one more kind of section called exception section, and then we are going to end up with this one, right? So in this particular block we are going to write the logic of your PL SQL, and declaration section we are going to declare all the variables or declare the cursors or whatever it may be which are correct here we are going to declare. And coming to exception section, we are going to define various kind of exception related code, right? For example, when you are trying to execute anything which is related to something like 7 by 0, right? Is it valid division? No, it is invalid division. Then actually your compiler is going to produce a kind of error, right? So a kind of error we can call it as system defined exception also. System defined exception means, is the system defined exception can be understood by anyone? No, this cannot able to understand by everyone clearly, right? So to make it clear to the end user, we are trying to convert this system defined exceptions into user defined exceptions. Right? So in order to convert the system defined exceptions into user defined exceptions, we are using the exception block, right? So various kind of exceptions are possible in plsql also. Among those, one kind of exception is no underscore data underscore found exception, right? If there is no such data is available, for example, I want to delete a record with 5 id, right? If I would like to delete it, if it is not available, what can I do, right? So then it will produce certain kind of error, right? That error, if you want to handle manually, I can go for knowing a kind of exception called system defined exception as no data found error, right? So like this we are going to have various kind of exceptions are there. Among those, one kind of exception is value underscore error exception, right? So when you are trying to convert one particular format to another particular format, there is a chance of rising exception called value underscore error exception, and something like 0 underscore divide exception is there. These are the some of the system defined exceptions, and you are going to handle all those system defined exceptions, and we are going to convert into user understandable messages, right? Trying to handle all those system defined exceptions will be done at exception block. Okay, so coming to user defined exceptions, see certain times if you look into system defined exception, these are common for all kind of programmers, right? Certain situations where I need to write my own exception which is needed for our application, then those kind of exceptions I can call it as user defined exception, right? So these user defined exceptions we can able to throw it with help of a keyword called rise keyword. Rise is a predefined keyword which is meant for to rise the user defined exception, right? Rise followed by exception name something like exp1, and you have to mention this exp1 should be a kind of an exception, right? With help of example you can get the clear idea. Okay, now fine. So if you look into the programs, right? So if you are able to observe this particular thing, I am going to copy this one. SQL. Right. So you need to first connect conspace system. It was successfully connected. Then I am going to write certain kind of keyword. Right. So you can able to observe here it has thrown certain kind of exception. What is that exception? Error at line 1, no data found. Right. So this is a kind of 3 lines of error code. Right. Is the user can able to understand it directly? He may get confused. Right. Instead of that, we need to handle it and we can able to display only one line of message. We need to handle only one line of message. For that, what we can do now? We need to handle that. So why you are getting this error? Because of there is no data. Right. So for that, what we can do now? Declare this particular block of code I am written. See here I am trying to declare one temporary variable varchar of size 20 and I have begin the section, select name into temp from employee where id equal 10, id equal 10, meaning that the person whose id is 10, I am trying to copy the name into which variable? Temp variable. Done. Good. If exception is going to be happen, right? When an exception is going to be happen, which block is going to be executed? This particular block is going to be executed, right? In this particular block, if an exception is of type no data found exception, then it is going to be executed. That's the meaning of it. Right? Hope you understood. Is it okay for everyone? If I try to observe, PL by SQL procedure successfully completed. Right? So, but here we are not getting the output. What you have to do? Set space server output space on. Now I am trying to execute once again. You are going to get given number with 10 record not found. This is what? Customized message, right? Earlier message is going to get the user get more confused compared to this one. Right? For example, if you say some other kind of exception, something like value error exception, right? I am trying to copy the name of the person into temporary variable whose id is 6, and I am trying to print the data. For example, here the error might be happen is name is what type? Varchar. Temp is what type? Number. Temp is number, right? So meaning that I am trying to copy the character data type into number data type, then definitely it is going to throw an exception. That exception will be value underscore error exception, right? When miscompatibility is going to be happen, this particular block is going to be executed. So change data type of temp to varchar of 20, right? So certain situations where no data may be found, then I can go for writing like no underscore data underscore found, then no data found is happening. Right? What is going to hit here? Change data type of temp to varchar of 20. Right? For example, if you clearly observe, I mentioned something like 9 here. What might be the error you are going to get? Right? So there is no employee ID with 9, I think. So then it is going to show that no data found. Order of exceptions also going to be very, very important for you. Right? Meaning that if there is any corresponding exception is going to be raised, the respective exception is going to be executed in the exception block. Okay, fine. Take out this one. Declare a into 10. So I am trying to initialize two variables, a and b with values 10 and 5, and one more variable called answer variable, which is of type integer, and I am trying to perform the logic here, answer equal to a by b, and the result of the division is some answer. Right? If there is an exception, what might be the exception possible here? 0 underscore divide exception may be happen, then it is going to throw this kind of message. So I think here the values of a and b are 10 and 5, so there is no problem. But if we give here the value of b is 0. Now you are going to get dividing by 0, please check the values again. So this is the advantage of handling the exceptions, right? So for example, I would like to create my own exceptions, then I am going to simply declare two variables x and y, and a float variable and an exception variable. How I am going to declare? With the help of exception keyword. Two kind of exceptions I am trying to define. One kind of exception is defining for when y value is 0. Another kind of exception is when y is greater than x, right? When y equal to 0, I am trying to raise an exception called exp1, right? So cursor will be transferred to what? Exception block. In exception block, what is the user defined exception here? exp1. When exp1 is going to be raised, I have to say that it is an error, division by 0 not allowed, right? Whereas coming to else if case, y is greater than x, then rise exp2, right? So here, so what is the exp2 defining here? Error, y is greater than x, please check the input, right? So this is the way you can able to create user defined exceptions. Right? What is the value of x? For example, if I say 8, the value of y is 0, then it will show that division by 0 not allowed. What is the value of 8? For example, 8, and it will be the 9. Then again, y is greater than x, please check the input. So this is our requirement. So I have made such a way that. Okay, now. So this is all about the concept of exception sum. So far we have seen something like every time we are trying to execute the code by copying every time, right? So now what we can do now, instead of making the paste by copying from somewhere, we'll try to write the code at one location. We'll try to reuse it whenever it is required for us, right? So we can call the concept is reusability of the code, right? So or I can say a modularity approach. Right? Modularity means what? A large code divided into multiple parts of the code, where each and every part of the code I can able to execute multiple times, right? So for example, if I say a block of code, what is the purpose of the block of code? Which is meant for to perform or to solve a particular task. Right? So if I would like to solve a particular task in plsql, we are going to have two kind of ways. One is with the help of procedures, another one is with the help of function sum. Both are meant for the purpose of reusability. Both are meant for to perform the to solve a particular task. But the difference between these two is one is cannot able to return anything. One cannot return any value, and the functions will return value. Hope you understood the meaning of functions, right? So in C language also, functions can return something, right? So functions can able to return certain value. So based on that, we will define both are having the same purpose. Procedure we cannot able to return any value, whereas functions can able to return a particular value. Then how we are going to create a procedure or a function? By simply following a statement called create or replace. What I would like to create? I would like to create a procedure. What is the procedure name? Followed by list of parameters. Right? How we are going to create the function? Simply create or replace. In place of procedure, I am going to simply define function name followed by list of parameters. Right? But the thing is here in procedures, is there any return type? There is no return type. Then actually this code is meant for the purpose of reusability, which means if somebody is calling to execute a particular block of code, they need certain output, right? I want to find out area of circle. If I call by passing the radius value as 6, it has to produce certain value, right? So if there is no return type, how it will handle the procedures? That is where the concept is. Here we are going to have three types of parameters. One is in kind of parameters. In mode we can call, out mode, or we can call it as in out mode. Three kind of modes are there in procedures. In parameter is defines something like which I am going to take the input from the external side. Out parameter is meant for to send my data to the calling function or calling procedure. In out parameter is meant for both taking the input from the external side and producing the data to the outside. What about here in functions? There is no concept of in out or in out combination. We are going to have simply various kind of accepting the parameters, and we are going to have a return type. A return type is something like number. What do you think of son? The type of value I am returning is a kind of a number, right? Based on that I will define. So then I can mention here the syntax continuation is or as. Create or replace procedure name followed by is or as. Then I can go for declaring various kind of variables what you require. Various kind of variables, if there are any requirement, you can able to declare. Then I can go for begin block where my logic is going to be written. I mean simply procedure logic I am going to write. If there are any kind of exceptions are needed, I can able to simply go for exception block, and then I am going to simply end it. The same syntax here also followed. But the difference here is or as some declaration, begin followed by logic, right? After certain kind of processing here, you have to written something, right? Here in the syntax, here we mentioned something like data type of the return type, but here you have to pass the actual value, something like return n, whatever it may be, return n or whatever it may be, return n. If there are any kind of exceptions, we can go exception block, end, followed by like this. So this is the syntax for creating a function. So the major difference is functions will return anything, and whereas coming to exception like procedures won't return anything. Because of they are not returning anything, we will simply use various kind of parameters like in out combination parameters. Okay. So let us try to execute some of the codes what I have created already. Right. So guys, if you are able to observe here, I have created one procedure, create or replace procedure. Procedure name is what here? Hello world. Right. Here itself you may get doubt, right? There are no parameters. Right. If there are no parameters, no need to define them. Right. But in C language it is compulsory. Here it is not compulsory. Create or replace procedure. Procedure name is hello world. Done. Procedure is created. Now once we have created the procedure, what is the advantage of this procedure? We can able to reuse it for multiple times, right? So means I can able to call this particular procedure many times from external side. How can we call it? Any idea? Right? We can able to do it in two ways. One is simply using the keyword called execute keyword. Execute. What is the procedure name? Hello world. It will be the spelling mistake, I think. Yes. Execute hello world. What is the output you got? Hello. This is one way of execution. Another way of execution is, so basically you are not going to write your plsql code completely as one single line. You are going to write with combination of various kind of other code, right? So basically you can go with begin and end block. So what you can do now, you can simply go with begin block, and you can simply call hello world and will simply end it. So these are the two ways you can able to call the procedures what you have created. Complete. Take out the next one. Here I have taken the declaration of 3 variables and I am trying to create a procedure where the procedure name is find min1 function or a procedure name. Here if you are able to observe, this is what kind of parameter? In parameter, which means I am giving the input from the external side. What about the second parameter, which is also in parameter? I am giving the external side. The another one is out parameter, meaning that after processing it, this particular procedure is going to return certain value to the calling procedure. So is begin, logic is begin. If x less than y, z equal to x. Otherwise, z equal to y. What is the meaning of this one? What is the meaning of this particular program? I am trying to find out minimum of 2 numbers. Right? If x is less than y, z contains what value? X, minimum value. Otherwise, z contains the minimum value as y. And I am going to combine it into a single block only. A equal to address of A means what? I am trying to read the number A and I am trying to read the number B, and I am going to simply calling the procedure by passing the 3 parameters. Find of A comma B comma C. B comma C, and there itself I am trying to print them. Now, is there any particular procedure required to call this particular code? Is there any necessary to call again from the call externally? No need, because at the line number 16 it is already there, right? Line number 16 we already called it, so there is no need of again specifically enter the value of A 6, enter the value of B, which is 5. The minimum of 2 numbers is 5. Okay, now fine. Try to observe the another one. I can not only writing the various kind of normal code, I can go with SQL code also. If you are able to clearly observe, I am trying to create a procedure. Procedure name is P, which is taking the input value. That's why I mentioned as in parameter. A in, the data type is number, is some data type is there, right? And begin, select something like this, where ID equal to A, meaning that whatever the value that is passed by the user, with respect to that I am going to check its records. If there are any records are there, I am going to copy those record of columns into B comma C. Is it okay, everyone? Am I right or not? For example, if I say, if I pass the value 5, I am trying to get the record related to the value 5, right? Their name and age are going to copy it into B comma C. Then I am going to print them. That's it. Now, how we are going to execute this one? If I executed it, now how we are going to execute it? Can I directly call like execute P of 5, execute P of 5? What has happened? It has thrown an exception, right? The exception is something like related to no data found, right? So you have to read the first error, then only you have to go for further, right? So there is, because of there is no data found, it is throwing an exception, right? So let us try to check what data might be there. Select star from employee, right? I think 6 is there. Right. I can copy this one. I think no need to do again, right? It's a kind of procedure already created, right? So anyway, I am trying to create once again. Execute P of 6, right? So here you can able to check. Here the procedure accepting one parameter as input, so I am passing only one parameter. There is no problem, right? So the data respect to that is it is producing J and 25, right? You can able to manipulate it the order in which you want to print the data. Right? Fine. So take out the another one. Create or replace procedure details A in number, B out varchar to C out number. Select name comma age into B comma C from employee where ID equal to A. Now what it is doing here? Procedure name is details. it is accepting one input parameter, two output parameters. So you can able to observe in the earlier case I have taken the same data only, but I tried to print there itself. Now the point is here, instead of printing there itself, I am going to print at the calling level, right? So now how it is going to work, how it is going to be executed. Procedure is created. Now can I say execute of details of what parameters you have to pass? Number, okay, very good. Number is 6. What about the remaining two parameters? Can I pass anything? We are expecting output parameters, right? But what will do? So here the thing is b comma c are the output parameters. So we are expecting the output from them. We should not pass any parameters, right? So when you are going to call the respective procedure, it will send certain data, right? It will send certain data. That data you need to save it somewhere. For that, what I will do now, I will try to create certain memory. Var x, what kind of data it is? Varchar2 of some size. Here you can able to observe. Here I have used var keyword. Why I have used var keyword? Outside of the block, right? Var x, varchar2 of 15. What about another one? Var y, something like number. So why I have created two variables here? I am getting certain data from some other procedure. I need to save it. So for that reason I have created two memory locations. Now I can able to call the function or the procedure, right? I can call them interchangeably. You can understood. Execute details of what might be the value? 6. And what about other parameters? You have to mention like this. This is the syntax you have to follow, right? So 6 defines the input parameter, colon x defines we are expecting from the procedure, colon y defines expecting from the procedure. Procedure successfully completed. Now if I use print command, it is going to print all the data what are there available in the x and y. Okay, now so this is the particular procedure you have to follow while working with the procedures, right? So if you want to specifically only one particular value, I can mention them like print x. You are going to get only x value, right? So I will take more examples. Try to observe this one. Create or replace procedure s underscore age, e in number, a in number, s out number, is begin, update employee, set age equal to age plus a, where id equal to a, commit, select age into s from employee where id equal to e, end, forward slash. Now what this procedure is doing? Procedure name is s underscore age, which is taking one as input parameter, two input parameters, good, and one output parameter, right? Here whatever the value that you are going to pass as e, based on that it is going to update the employees by adding age plus a. Then it is executing one more statement, that is whatever the record that I am going to get with respect to e, that age it is going to copy it into s variable. That s variable I am going to make it as output parameter, right? I think you understood. Now if I execute it, done. Now how we are going to execute this one? Can I use directly execute command? No, you should not use, right? Because there is out parameter, so which you need to create certain kind of memory. So something like var y, what is the output parameter? Number. Done, right? Next, execute s underscore age of, and let me call the id number 6, and what amount of age you want to add, something like 40, and this is out parameters, right? Out parameter is what? Y. Done. If I try to print the value of y, what is the value you are going to get? 65. I think earlier it is 25. Now we added it 40. You are going to get 65. Is it okay? Next, the same kind of thing. I am trying to perform some certain kind of procedure that I am trying to create with respect to deletion of ID. Delete ID, A in number, delete from the employee where ID equal to A. Procedure is created. Now, is there any necessary to create the memory again here? Is there any necessary to create the memory? No need, because there is no out parameter. Delete, execute, delete ID. What you want to delete? Let us take 6. Done. If I try to say select star from employee, you are going to have no row selected. So this is the way you can able to create the procedure, right? So now, if I am going to have 10 records, if you would like to delete the 10 records, what you can do? You can call the same procedure again and again by passing the respective values. That will be the better one compared to earlier cases. I am trying to insert the data again. Insert into employee values of, I think first one is name, right? Name 6, 20. Done. Right. Next we will go with functions. How we are going to create the functions? Create or replace function name followed by parameters, right? So, and we are not going to mention any kind of in or out because there is no need of refining, right? So, a number, return the data type of the number, the data type, and is begin, return a into a, something like this. Executed. Function was created. Now, how we are going to execute it? Can I call again execute function? Can I call the execute function? Yes, I can call the execute function, but what is required here? It is putting certain kind of output also, right? That output you need to handle. So to handle that output, I am going to create some memory where y number execute what you have to call square underscore number of 5, right? But is it correct? No, we need to initialize it to variable y, right? So what is that variable y? Assignment operator is this one, right? And you know, while saving it, you have to prefix with colon operator also, right? Earlier case in procedure also we have seen, right? Whatever the out parameter you are getting, for that you are mentioning something like colon comma respective variable. Procedure created successfully. Print y, which is 25. This is the way you can able to work with the functions. Similarly, for example, I want to pass 2 numbers along with an operand, like something like character data type, right? So whose return type is a number, and based on the if loops, I mentioned if operator equal to plus, I am going to simply return a plus b, something like that I have written, end if all those things. Function is created, right? Now what you have to do? You have to create a memory location for it, where y number execute colon y colon equal to what you have to call arithmetic of 2 parameters 5 comma 7 comma operator, right? If I say print y, you are going to get the value as 12, right? Like this you can able to use, right? Now you can able to execute this particular block many times, right? You can have something like 7 plus 7 14, and you are going to have print y. So this is what we call it as reusability, right? Now not only about like basic logic, you can go with work with SQL also. You can check here. I am trying to find out the function name as max age function. As there is no parameters, I am going to not mention any kind of parameters here. max is whose return type is a kind of a number, C number, select max is into C from employee, right? So that value I am going to return. Function is created, right? Once you create the function, again var y, which is of type I think number, execute colon y colon assignment operator. The function name is max underscore h. Procedure created successfully, and I am trying to print the value y, which is 25, right? Which we have created earlier just now, right? Similarly, you can do various kind of other thing. For example, I want to perform the sum of the ages. What might be the SQL query? Select sum of age into C where name like J percentage, meaning that you are going to find out the sum of the ages of all the employees whose name starts with J, right? So I think no need to execute again, same kind of process. So this is what about the concept of procedures and function sum, right? So let us go with the final concept, which is a simple one only, a packages, right? Package means what? A collection of something, right? So if I say technically a collection of related data, or I say a collection of objects. In Oracle, we will call everything as an object, right? Here object can be a kind of a function, or it can be a procedure, or it can be a cursor, or whatever it may be. Anything will be called as a package, collection of something called as a package, right? Basically, if you are going to look into package, any kind of package creation contains two parts. One is specification part, another one is body parts. Another one is body part, right? Specification part means which contains only the prototype, right? If you are able to observe something like how we are going to create the package means by simply using the command called create or replace, what you are trying to create, package followed by package name, followed by is keyword, and then you are going to define various kind of prototypes. What is the meaning of specification? Specifications are something like nothing but overall overview. What are the specifications of this particular class? It is going to have 60 student strength class, sufficient capacity, and which related to like CS department, something like that, right? We can able to mention total number of fans are 6, like that we can able to, right? Something like a specifications. If I say specifications which are nothing but they are implemented already, no, they are just a kind of parameters. If I want to implement them, you have to use the another kind of section, that is package body section, where this body section will contains implementation part. I mean, in general package creation section, we are going to have abstract methods. In your terminology, if I say, what is the meaning of abstract method? There is no body for it. If there is no body, I can call it as abstract method. And the collection of abstract methods means it can be abstract procedures, abstract cursors, abstract functions, whatever it may be. All those prototypes. Now, abstract method is nothing but what? Prototype only, right? All those collection of prototypes will become under a package. And once we made them the prototypes, can I call it as a public? Can I call them as a public? Yes or no? If I make them as public also, is there any problem? There is no problem. If there is no data, if somebody is trying to access it, is there any use of it? There is no use. So by default, they are going to be public. Okay, now fine. So once they are public, we can able to inherit it to the body of the package. So how can we create means create or replace package body. Here you have to use the extra keyword called package body, and you have to write the package name. Here this particular package name and this particular package name should be same. Then only it understood that okay, this is a body and these are the prototypes. So these are linked. Package name should be same, and one is a package where it contains a prototype. Here it is a package body, it contains the implementation part, right? So what are the prototypes that you have defined here? All those prototypes you are going to mention here. Okay, now fine. So once we mention them, now how can we execute them? For example, if there is a prototype called J prototype or J function, this is a kind of simple prototype. I have implemented this J function like function J followed by something. So don't worry about the syntax. Something like this. Now how can we call this J function? Can I call it directly? Can I call it directly? It couldn't possible, right? Because if I call it directly J function, this J function can be existed in many packages. So compiler will get ambiguity. So you have to specifically mention in which package my J function is going to be available, right? Which is the package? pk dot something like I mentioned as pk dot J function. So this is the way you have to specifically call the packages, right? So let us try to check with one particular example. So here if you're able to observe what I did here, I have create or replace a package. What is the package name? MyPack. Is these three are what? Prototypes, simply prototype, like what might be the various kind of things possible in the implementation section. One is procedure, whose procedure name is P1, which is accepting the parameter as A as one parameter and producing B as a out parameter. Similarly, function and salary, C in number and return number. And this is a kind of thing, and salary, C in number, J in number, return number. What this concept defines? Overloading, right? Method name is same with different kind of parameter. Which one is going to be executed when you are going to call? Based on the order of the parameters. Yes. Package is created. Package created, right? Once the package is created, so meaning that package specification is done now. So for this you have to make it implementation section. What is the implementation section? How we are going to create it? Create or replace package body. What is the package name? If it has to link it with that, right? So that should be the package name as same. Is whatever the procedure that is there, that should be implemented here. If you are able to observe here, procedure P1 A in number, B out number, up to here I think it is related. Is begin select age into B from employee where ID equal to A. This is one procedure. What about the another function? Annual salary, C in number, return number. For this I have mentioned function and salary select age into 12 into D from employee where ID equal to C. I hope you understood this function. Means I have just taken that prototype and I am trying to implement it. This is one function. So that particular function I have ended here, and I have written one more function called here and salary, C in number, J in number, return number is begin return C into J, and annual salary, and this is for plsql ending section. Done. Package body created. Once the package body is created, then how we are going to execute it? How we are going to execute? By using the execute keyword. Can I execute it or not? But while calling, so you know, right, procedures or functions, it may be executed with the help of execute keyword only. But based upon whether they are returning or not returning, you have to create the memory, right? So here, for example, I am trying to create For example, I am trying to call here P1 procedure. P1 procedure is doing what? In parameter and out parameter. So for out parameter, you have to create the memory, right? Var x, what is the output parameter? Number, right? And then I am going to simply use execute. How can I execute? You have to call with the package name, right? My pack dot p1 of, what are the parameters? In as one parameter, out is one parameter. So in is id, comma. So if I say simply print x, who says it got, right? Now similarly you can able to call the other one also, right? For example, I am trying to call this particular and salary function which is taking two parameters, right? Is there any return type here? Functions always going to have return type. It is going to always have return type. What you have to do? Var something like var y number execute colon y colon equal to my pack dot and salary of sixth person, sixth ID, right? So if I say print y, what is the value you are going to get? I think there I did like age into 12. Age is 25 into 12 is 300, right? So if you are able to observe here, so here I passed here single parameter, right? As I passed here single parameter, which line of code is executed? 8 to 14 executed, right? But I want to execute this particular block, right? 15 to 19. Then what I have to do? I have to pass two parameters, 6 comma for example 5. Print y. It is going to be 30. So like this, you can able to create